Knowledge is often described as a ladder that allows an individual to climb out of poverty. However, in 1892, a radical novel from Kerala portrayed knowledge as something far more unsettling. It presented education as a mirror that forced an entire society to look at its own inherent cruelty. That book is Saraswativijayam. Before we proceed with this analysis, I must provide a necessary spoiler alert. To properly discuss why this book remains a masterpiece of moral philosophy, I have to discuss the ending in detail. I will be covering the murder mystery, the identity of the judge, and the final fate of every major character. If you want to experience these narrative twists for yourself, please pause this video, read the book, and then return. Today I'm looking at the 2013 edition published by Chintha Publishers. It is a relatively slim volume, but the weight of the ideas contained within its pages is immense. We are not just talking about a simple story of a poor boy making it big. We are talking about the complete psychological dismantling and rebuilding of an oppressor and his subordinates. To understand the grace and the grit of this book, we have to look at its author, Potheri Kunjambu. He lived from 1857 to 1919 and was a truly rare breed of intellectual in late 19th century North Malabar. Kunjambu was a lawyer by profession. This background explains why the climax of the book feels so much like a modern legal thriller. However, beyond his work in the courtroom, he was a radical humanist. He lived during an era where social mobility was effectively blocked for a large portion of the population. He saw how the law was often used as a tool for the powerful rather than a shield for the weak. Aware of the importance of women's education, Kunjambu sent his daughter to Madras Medical College to become a doctor and a role model for the society. Paruamma, the daughter of the lawyer, was the first woman doctor in Malabar. This personal commitment to progress proves that Kunjambu was not just a theorist. He lived the very values of liberation and educational merit that he infused into his writing. He understood that for a community to rise, every individual, regardless of gender or background, required access to the light of knowledge. In Saraswativijayam, he did something daring. He used the novel as a laboratory to see if a feudal oppressor could actually be redeemed. He was not interested in a story of revenge. He was interested in a victory of the mind and the spirit. He wanted to show that education does not just liberate the oppressed, it can also liberate the master from his own ignorance. The story opens with a moment of shocking, casual violence that sets the entire plot in motion. We meet Kuberan Nambudiri, a wealthy and high-ranking landlord who possesses everything except empathy. He is the personification of the feudal system. In his world, there is a fixed cosmic order where he sits at the top and everyone else exists merely to serve his interests. The central conflict begins when a young man from the laborer class named Marathan commits what the landlord considers an unforgivable sin. Marathan dares to sing a song while Kuberan's entourage was passing by. In the rigid world of the 19th century Malabar, the sound of a laborer's voice was treated as a form of pollution. It was an act of defiance against the silence that the oppressed were expected to maintain. Enraged by this insolence, the landlord does not strike the boy himself. Instead, his helper and accomplice, Ramar Nambyar, delivers the blow. He acts as the physical extension of the landlord's will. He strikes Marathan, who falls and disappears from the scene. The village is immediately gripped by the belief that Marathan has been murdered. However, Marathan survives. He escapes the village and eventually embraces a new faith and a new life. He takes on a new name, Yesudasan. This change of name is symbolic of his total break from a system that saw him only as a nameless laborer. As Yesudasan, he seeks the education that was previously denied to him. He proves that the Marathan the landlord tried to crush is gone, replaced by a man of intellect and standing. The middle section of the novel is an incredible study of exile. This is where we can really spend time looking at the change in character for Kuberan. He flees the village and wanders far from his seat of power, eventually ending up in Kashi. Kuberan is desperately looking for a way to wash away what he thinks is the sin of murder. At first, his attempts at redemption are entirely superficial and transactional. In a desperate attempt to regain his old life, Kuberan Nambudiri tries to use his immense wealth to bribe his way out of the consequences of his actions, believing that the legal system and divine justice can both be bought. This belief is the peak of his ignorance. He assumes that even the moral fabric of the universe has a price tag. But Potheri Kunjambu denies his characters an easy exit. While they are away, they encounter people from all walks of life. For the first time, the landlord is the one who has to ask for help. He has to experience the same vulnerability that his laborers felt every single day under his rule. He discovers that in the wider world, his status is meaningless. Ramar Nambiar also undergoes a parallel internal struggle. As the one who physically delivered the blow, the weight of the secret begins to corrode his sense of self. They are no longer nobles or men of status. They are simply men living in the shadows of their own choices, haunted by the memory of a boy they thought they destroyed. Their journey is essentially a shedding of their feudal skin. By the time they eventually return to face the trial, they are no longer the same men. The climax of the novel takes place in a courtroom. Kuberan stands before the court expecting the gallows or a lifetime in a colonial prison. He is fully prepared to pay the ultimate price for a crime he believes he committed. The presiding sub-judge is a man of immense intellect and legal mastery. As the trial proceeds, the truth is finally unveiled. The judge is actually Yesudasan, the man once known as Marathan. This is where the character of Saraswati becomes essential to the resolution. While the title refers to the goddess of learning, it is also the name of Kuberan's granddaughter. In a final poetic twist, we learn that Yesudasan has married Saraswati. The wordplay in the title is quite exquisite. It suggests that the victory belongs to the goddess of wisdom, to the marginalized man who sought her, and to the woman who represents the bridge between two fractured worlds. By naming the granddaughter Saraswati, Kunjambu ensures that the victory is not just an abstract concept, but a living, breathing reality within the family of the oppressor himself. The real shock of the ending is how Yesudasan chooses to treat his former oppressors. Instead of using his power to destroy the men who tried to kill him, he shows them profound compassion. He offers them the only thing they never offered him, basic human dignity. This mercy is what finally humbles Kuberan. He and Nambiar are redeemed not through the violence of a prison sentence, but by being forced to witness the success and the kindness of the person they tried to erase. They are forced to acknowledge that their entire worldview was built on a lie. When you look at this story today, you realize that the message of Saraswativijayam is surprisingly modern. It suggests that true social change does not come from just swapping who is in power. It comes from a revolution of the human heart and the breaking of old barriers through the pursuit of truth. Potheri Kunjambu believed that even the most hardened oppressor could be brought to the truth if they were confronted with the undeniable power of knowledge and the shocking beauty of mercy. He saw education as the only force capable of truly ending the cycle of feudal violence. It is a story where the victim becomes the savior and the oppressor finally learns how to be a human. If you're interested in the history of social reform or the deep psychology of power dynamics, this book is essential reading. It reminds us that the greatest victory is not over an enemy, but over the ignorance that created the enmity in the first place. How does this vision of redemption sit with you? In a world that often demands eye for an eye justice, do you think Kunjambu's emphasis on mercy and intellectual growth is still the most effective path for social change? Let us discuss the enduring impact of this revolutionary work in the comments below.